Hey everybody.
there.
So just the next video that we're going to do here about the crazy happenings of the last week or so. Now we've seen late night comedians fired, the FCC chairman saying that he's going to take people's licenses, while threatening vaguely, like in a mob boss kind of way, that he's going to take people's licenses away if they have performers or celebrities saying things that don't agree with what Trump likes, or if he doesn't like it. Anyway, the whole point being is that we have lots of things to say. I'm sure that the whole world has lots of things to say about this. Our next Making the Point meeting, Philosophical Club meeting, is going to be on September 30th. We'll probably have it here. And the subject of conversation for that meeting is going to be about free will. What are the principles of free will? Do we have free will? How do we measure that? How do we define whether or not we have that? So these things, we believe, are intricately entwined with the concept of free speech. So Stephen's thought a whole bunch about that. Do you want to just kind of take it over and go from there? By the way, cheers.
Sure. Oh, yeah, cheers. Yep.
'Cause we're not going to get through this without alcohol.
No.
I'll guarantee you that.
For the next 3 years, probably. So, free speech. Question that I put is, do we have it? And my first thought on that was yes, but I don't believe it is as secure today as it was 9 months ago.
I imagine there's not too many people would argue with you about that.
Yeah, we have it, but, and we have it, and for how long? And probably prior to 9 months ago, and I'm sure everyone's getting this importance of the 9 months, prior to 9 months ago, I don't think there would have been, there might have been some question, in some people's minds, are we going to continue to have free speech as a country and all? But I don't believe that it rises to the level now where people are seriously wondering.
I'm going to just dive in right there, if you don't mind, because I do think that one of the things that the people on the far right did have as a maybe a bona fide complaint about restrictions to free speech were in the late 80s into the early 90s, where we started to see the surgence of what people call politically correct speech. So, suddenly, you're not okay to say things, call people things that are deemed offensive by the people who you're calling. I mean, a brilliant illustration would be the term, and please forgive me, everybody. See, we already know, it's like well established, like you're not really allowed to call anybody a retard. There's reasons for that, because it's offensive, and it's also not descriptive in an actual way of people who are developmentally or, mentally delayed. I think that this is where people on the right started saying, hang on a second, you're restricting my ability to say whatever I want in whatever terms that I want to use. And there's, I think, an argument, I think it's a silly argument to some extent, but I think that there's an argument that they had that, okay, well, politically correct, the PC cops restricted our ability to speak freely.
I consider myself, I'm someone who, I don't think of myself as politically correct. I basically don't like political correctness, but what does that mean? It doesn't mean that I feel that I should have the right to go around insulting anyone that I feel like. That's not political correctness. I think that people can use political correctness, maybe to an extreme, but to me, it's a matter of common sense and common decency.
I agree.
We, as I'll talk later, something about laws. Laws can't keep us from being total wretched creatures and idiots and in the things that we say and do. But they can help to an extent. They can help to an extent. And
They're
that's
sort of
only
designed to keep us from being wretched creatures.
yes,
such.
and it's
But
to
they don't
the
always
extent that people respect those laws and accept those laws. Thomas Jefferson, I think it was, said, if we were angels, we wouldn't need governments, but we're not angels. And whether it's political correctness or whatever, to me, going back, common sense and common decency, especially common decency, should dictate what we say and do to a large extent, probably to a larger extent than is happening now. Definitely more than it's happening now. So those are my thoughts on PC.
Yeah, and for me, and I just want to say that what I've always considered, what PC actually means to me mostly, and this is where the government kind of makes things problematic, I think, sometimes. But if a particular group, I'm just going to say, I'm just going to talk about, for instance, the First Nations communities. If they find it offensive that there's a sports team that has a cartoonish depiction of them and is named what is considered an epithet to them, then I think that they should be allowed to say, you know what, that's offensive and you should stop doing that. And I think that the people who should be allowed to do that are the people that it is directed at. So I don't know that the government is necessarily the best judge of these things. I certainly would not like to think that the current government is a good judge of these things. But certainly when it comes to, if you want to know how people should be called, how hard is it to just simply refer to them the way that they wish to be referred to? Again, common decency. It's about not being a prick.
Right.
So, but I do think that that was very triggering to the right, and I think that it was probably compounded in the last decade or 15 years, maybe even 2 decades, with the LGBTQ plus community beginning to emerge from the closet and take up space and realize that they represent an important portion of society, a larger portion of society than I think probably a lot of people on the far right would like to acknowledge. And they began to say, stop calling us these names. I don't want to be called these things. I want to be referred to this way, and I want to be acknowledged, and I don't want to have to hide in the closet, and I don't want to have to conform to your language. And I think that this was something that inflamed them more, and over the course of maybe 2 decades, probably close to 2 decades, they've been kind of seething under the surface about these things. So now we're in a position where it's like, it feels to me like, okay, lefty lunatics, it's payback time, right?
Yeah.
And now we're going to restrict what you're allowed to say. Yeah, that's what it feels like to me.
Quick story here, very quick. 6 years or so ago, I was in a shopping center, which won't be named, and went to a store and was just window shopping. I like clothes. I was looking at stuff, and a lady comes up and asks if she could help me, and I said, "No, I'm just browsing. I just like to shop." And she just as innocently as ever could say, "Oh, you must be gay." And I thought, My response was, "Well, I don't know if I must be, but I am." And then she, immediately, short of throwing herself to the floor, and abasing herself, She apologized for 10 minutes, you know. I said, that's cool, and no problem, you know. I just tell that because she was exercising her free speech. She wasn't being politically correct. But, I mean, I took no offense whatsoever. I thought it was funny, you know. I've told this story and some other people think, you know, they immediately said, how could you not be offended? Because I wasn't, you know, I don't go around looking to be offended, you know. And stretching the point here, some people do go around looking to be offended, I believe. Anyway.
Well, and also I think that some people are out there looking to offend, deliberately looking to offend.
Yeah, and I would say about this person, I think she would not fall in that category. I think she was just being, and she was probably, I would think, mid-20s, which you would think, well, okay, that doesn't sound like something someone in the mid-20s would say, but, you know, that's, again, categorizing someone, saying, in your mid-20s, you should act like this. We're individuals, every one of us is subject to our upbringing and our family, blah, 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 blah. So, again, you know, no offense there, no offense.
Yeah.
Free speech exists for individuals, for the press, for other organizations, such as religious organizations, such as civic organizations, and other groups like, wait for it, Antifa. Just to throw a little grenade.
Oh my God,
Just to throw a little grenade in the room.
We're going to talk about Antifa in a minute.
Yeah. Exceptions. Just exceptions. What are the exceptions to free speech? Again, common sense comes into play. Don't yell fire in a theater, whether it's crowded or not.
You can't incite violence to other people.
Right.
That's not protected speech.
You cannot advocate the overthrow of the government. That is not protected.
Correct. You can't tell someone you're going to kill them.
Okay, surprise here. I didn't know that.
It's actually a crime.
I didn't know that. I did not know
Death threats is
that.
actually an indictable offense.
Whoa, okay. So, there are exceptions. That's where things get, you know, really murky and gray area. Who's to say what is an exception? That's, you know, I certainly have no answer for that. Again, common sense should play a part, but that's not enough. That doesn't take care of every single specific, you know, problem.
Well, and philosophically speaking, that's true. But in reality, who decides where the exceptions are is who's in charge. And that's, again, back to where I have a real hard time with the concept of there being exceptions to free speech, because the people who are going to decide what those exceptions are the people who are in charge. And I don't know if those are the best people always to make those determinations, so.
Right. And sort of moving in from that, who guarantees and defends our freedom of speech? Well, in theory, the Supreme Court, amongst others. She laughs for good reason.
Laugh for good reason.
Yeah. Again, depends on what you think of the present Supreme Court, but right now, I used to trust the Supreme Court a great deal. I really did. These days, not so much. And being a conservative, being a
You know
conservative.
what, probably the very next video that we do is going to be about the nature of conservatism. Because I'll just tell you, and this is just a quick aside, but literally, as far as we've known each other a while now, there are literally 3 things that Stephen and I do not agree on. And I'm going to win him over at some point in time. But that he's not conservative.
Oh,
Anyway, I'm
Anyway,
sorry, I didn't
no,
mean,
no, no.
I didn't know.
No, that's fine. I like that. That's cool. That's totally cool. That's totally cool. So, who else besides the Supreme Court? I think people who get out and march and have placards that say, "Save my free speech" or whatever, those people are defending it too. People who don't give a damn are not defending it. They're not defending it. Even if, I think, even if they inside really feel that something should be said, something should be done, they just, you know, there's too much other stuff going on in their lives. Let those people who are marching and the Supreme Court, let them defend it. You know, it's not, you know, what could I do? What can I do? You know, that's a, you know, what can you do? You can get out, and you can get off the sofa and march.
You can speak some things. And I'm going to say, and this is maybe a little bit controversial, but maybe not so much. I think that the people who are deliberately inflammatory, I think that they, much as I think lots of other things about those people, but I do think that they are exercising our liberty of speech. That they're the ones who are testing the edges of the envelope, they're the ones who are out there saying, you know, what I think of as being like really bordering on, like guys like Charlie Kirk, just bordering on what I might consider to be insightful of violence. And they're just out there, you know, the prove me wrong thing. He's got every right, he had every right to say all the things that he did. And we all have every right to counteract it with our own arguments, which is what was happening until he got shot. But now we have an administration and an FCC, which is, you know, head of the FCC who's controlling our media, saying that they're going to tilt the scales in favor of just one voice. And that's, I mean, that is some North Korean shit right there. It is.
It is. And going back to Charlie Kirk, not saying something that's laudatory, that praises him, that calls him a martyr, etc., etc. That's almost becoming a bad thing. If you're not praising him, or you're condemning him, and also Charlie Kirk, and I don't claim to be an expert at all on Charlie Kirk, but he said a lot of things. He did a lot of traveling. He had many speeches. Good for him. He said many, many things, and some of those things are very offensive to people. Very offensive. That obviously is no reason to kill a man. But if he said these things, what we say have consequences from the right and from the left. If you, including Charlie Kirk, if you say something, and well, you have to be ready, I think, at least as the country stands now, you have to be ready to expect a response from someone who may disagree with you very, very strongly. And to say that, well, to do that is to disrespect the man, I don't think that's true at all.
Agreed.
I don't think that's true at all.
You had a great example actually of this as we, you know, met yesterday. You're talking about, you know, saying, I hate football, which
I do.
which Stephen really does. But in New Orleans during football season, that's going to necessarily be met by, you know, some pushback.
No hate
You-
mail yet.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, no one's hit him yet. But the point being is that, yes, you expect some pushback. That's a consequence. That's fine. But now, saying I hate the president could result in consequences that are life ruinous, like losing your job, like losing your ability to post on social media, like losing your driver's license. I mean, these are things that some lawmakers have called for when it comes to basically saying things that do not align with the current administration, i.e. Trump's, his thoughts and feelings. So there are limits, and there are ridiculous limits and consequences whereby it makes what you say not free. And this is what I think is going to lead into, lead into our discussion topic for a week from Monday, which is, do we have free will? And for me, the discussion about free will is necessarily a discussion about the definition of choice. Because if choice is do this or I'll kill you, that's not really a choice, and we don't really have free will under those circumstances. So I expect that it's going to be a very, very robust discussion a week from Monday.
Perhaps even raucous.
It might be raucous.
We get raucous.
I hope it's
We
raucous.
get raucous.
I like raucous. I like it when all of your mediation skills need to be. That's my favorite.
Yes. Well, just one thing is something you said just made me think that people have to be ready in these days to suffer for what they hold to be true. You may very well lose your job. You may very well be painted as some sort of an extremist or a really terrible person for saying something that is simply what you believe to be true and is not inciting to violence, not asking to overthrow the government. It is if you feel strongly enough about it, and you feel you have to say it, I think it's a sad thing, but you may have to be ready to, like I said, lose your job and all sorts of awful consequences, which should never happen, But I think, well, I was going to say, I think it's going to happen. It's happening.
It's already happening.
It's happening.
Yeah, we're there already.
It's happening already. And I applaud those people who have the courage to say something that they know very well might affect them and their families.
And if you're going to say something that is just reiterating truthful statements, truthful, redepiction of actions that have happened, you might suffer some consequences. But one thing, bring the receipts. Make sure that you're able to defend yourself, and make sure that what you're basing your argument on is not something that you maybe read on the internet that isn't necessarily the truth. And always, always, always check your sources and fact check.
Yeah.
Super important, because you can't have the moral high ground if you're just going on morals because everybody feels those things differently. Base it on truth. Base it on history. Base it on accuracy. All right? And most importantly, don't forget to come on out on Monday the 30th. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and please, please, please leave your comments. And if you would like to join Stephen and I on one of these little broadcasts and be part of a little podcast, please just let us know, and we would be more than happy to entertain that. Last words?
Last words. Just to say that there are consequences of having free speech and not having free speech. There's all kinds of consequences. They are they're so consequential that they will determine the course of the country. What kind of country we have in 5, 10, or 20 years. Whether people will have a hard time remembering, oh yeah, I can remember when my brother or father or whoever spoke of free speech. I remember that. Wish we had it.
Well, and a lot of people don't remember the McCarthy era, but we've been here before, but not in the age of mass communication like we have with social media and the internet. So we have been here before. It's not completely uncharted territory,
No.
but maybe we'll touch on some of those things in the next video.
Okay.
All right, cheers.
Cheers to you guys.